All right, so we're recording now. First thing up, membership. I went and started checking today, and I think I got to like the third person and they hadn't done their membership. So let's make sure if we're refereeing that we do that before we referee. Week 4, yay! So good week. Couple of nice high scores there. First match. Life West and the bottom match, New York and Amazons, were both over 50 points. And we've got 40 there with Glendale All Blues, and then that North Shore Beantown game, 3-10, a little less points than usual. So that's interesting, but Julianne will have to tell us there. Here's what the stats look like for the league. Harlequins are in the lead in the East Conference, and of course, Life West in the West. They've got the bye this weekend, but looks like they are pretty much a solid leader there. We did not get video for all 4 matches. This is the first week that it's happened. We don't have the Chicago North Shore video. Apparently the videographer had car trouble on the way to the pitch. So they have promised they will have a backup from here on out. So we'll see what that means. It means it'll be filmed with a cell phone, but that's okay. So we only had 3 games to watch this week because of that. So trends for week 4. Overall, I would say we did a fairly good job across the board from what I could see at the breakdown. I do think at times perhaps we were a little bit technical. So I would say when we are setting standards, the important thing is not to hunt for the penalties, but to choose the clear pictures. And I think we'll get better results that way, a few less penalties. At the scrums, this is just to play off of what we've been talking about all season, but clearly communicate our expectations to the teams. If you have to manage something, so you're going to reset, make sure you pick one player and you address it early and let them know what your expectations are of them. If you do give a penalty kick, then either immediately or at the next scrum, make sure that they understand what the penalty kick was for. That was something that Rob Kane has asked us to do so that they can make their adjustments. And then lineouts, of course, a little bit better each week. Keep providing the structure, and I think we're getting the outcomes that we would like. Let's go to advantage. Who wants to go first? Haley, I think you had the first match.
Sure. So the story of my game, it was a good contest. It was back and forth. I had 16 penalties in the first half, which is like pretty high for me, but I was trying to be true to the standard that I set. The second half, the teams made the adjustment, and we had a beautiful game. Like, we had a really great ball recycle. The breakdown was nice and clean. When it wasn't, I did stuff about it. It ended up being decided by a conversion kick. So just those are the kind of things, nip and tuck, and you look at, like, certain calls. Oh, could this have happened? Could this have happened? Stuff like that. But
Right.
Overall, I was pretty happy with it, just in terms of executing my game plan, because I felt like I was better around the scrum, more decisive. I stuck with what I was trying to do and what I was trying to get them to buy into. And at the breakdown, my positioning and my movement's gotten so much better, and it felt really good. So it was just a really neat game to be a part of. And at the end, it was like, whoa, this was a really intense, important game. So it was pretty cool. I was fairly happy with it. Still needs a little polish. Still had a couple of errors. But I guess I'm human or something. So
You and all of us.
So there is a clear and obvious scrum penalty that we can look at. The boring loose head.
Alrighty.
So what happens here, and this happened a couple of times, like Glendale kind of peaked up and was you can go ahead and start playing it because
Okay.
I have to stand them up to remind them, like, You can't just stand up. Like, say something so that I can have everybody stand up at the same time, so that it's not dangerous. So you see, number 2 is like blah blah. So I was like, don't do that. It's kind of dangerous. And I ended up free kicking them in the second half after a similar warning like this, because just disrupting the setup, kind of delaying it, it was just really silly. After having been told. So from here, right in front of me, so you'll see the effects of gold 1 after the ball gets put in. Yeah, right in front of me.
Cool.
So it's one of the easier scrum calls that I had to make that day. Most of all, like, they were buying in pretty well. So I knew which side of the contest was going to be the most challenging. It was going to be gold 3 and blue 1, and so I was pretty much. There were times when I was just over there just to be over there, and because one of them would complain about something else. So just for watching it, but also giving them the, hey, I'm listening to you. I want to be over here to see and make sure everything's okay. So the scrums have gotten better. I feel like my scrum management's gotten better as the season's gone on.
Awesome.
And then I have a clip. It's a foul play clip that Fend. And it's interesting. Amelia has one too. But the dangerous Fend. This is something that I think we should all look at and see if we can agree on. Happens real quickly, so you might as well play it in slow mo.
Okay. Yeah, I've looked at this a couple times.
Yeah. So there I am in transition. It's a counterattack, and there's like a couple people in my way. I don't exactly see, what her other hand is doing, but she knocked that girl over. I could have thought, is this something I could? I don't know where my AR is right here, because like I said, it's a counterattack. He's probably way upfield where I was, but I looked in the after talking to Lee yesterday, we looked in the logbook about fins, and it doesn't say the height of it, but obviously we're supposed to protect people's face and necks, and the force, she knocked the girl over. So I just wanted everybody to kind of chime in what y'all thought. I mean, if you had been in perfect position to see that.
Run that at full speed.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely know what I think, but I'm interested to hear what other referees would do with it. I think Haley,
she's probably the
really
shortest
well.
player. She's the shortest player on the field, so I wasn't thinking that I couldn't see that she had gone so high, and I couldn't imagine that she would have gone directly for the girl's face. But what does anybody else think?
I mean, I'd play on, because we're not looking like she's not trying to punch her in the face or anything like that.
Yeah, it's open.
I'm not looking for anything. I'm not searching out to call anything, and we haven't. I don't think that this seems to be a punch up type game.
No, the temperature wasn't like that at all, and I did play on, so that
I
was
agree with that.
Yeah, this was something that I was just like, well, it was a fan, but like I said, I couldn't see that it was on the girl's face. Does anybody else have anything?
Haley, did you get in the back of your mind? Did you try to figure out why the black girl went down so easily?
I mean, it was a fan. I mean, those a couple of black players are standing in front of me, so I don't think I got a clear picture of where the contact happened or how or why the manner. The Berkeley player fell over because you can see that she's getting low to try to make the tackle. But this kid, the ball carrier is pretty short. So, it's like I said, I played on, but is this something that we want to say we don't want fins we don't want fins in the neck face area. I know we don't want forearms.
Yeah, I don't think we can say that because, it's pretty much well known that you can fend with an open palm to the face in senior rugby. So,
okay, yeah. I just wanted everybody to look at that and is that excessive force? Does anybody think that that's excessive force? So this is just a big question for me.
Yeah,
like I said, I played on.
Anybody going to PK it? Is everybody?
I'm not going to be the guy to say whether that was excessive. That was a good rugby play.
Okay.
Yeah, and in the moment, I thought so too.
Peter?
No, I was just going to say, I didn't hear the last comment.
Hey, sorry, I think that was Peter. This is Steven. I was just saying I'm not going to penalty kick that. I think that was a good rugby play.
What worries me is that there was outward force from the ball carrier. She gets her hand out and lets the defender come into it. That's different. I think that's right on the edge.
I agree with that statement. It's right on the edge.
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with Peter too.
But,
unfortunately, Haley couldn't see it, and I understand the decision that she made.
Yeah, you can't infer things from guessing.
So to me, we've got to fend or we've got to strike. And this ticks more of the boxes for fend than strike. So I would go play on.
Okay, fair enough.
It's a play on for me too, even if I saw the picture that we're seeing right now on the field. I don't think she meant to fend in the face. I think the player bends down to make the tackle and she's just fending and the face happens to be there and it's not excessively dangerous. Yeah, there's force behind it. She's running forward at full speed, so there's going to be force behind it.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's not dangerous.
Okay. Yeah, it's not like the girl went off the field for whiplash or anything like that. So we were fortunate. I don't think we had any major injuries in this game.
Good clip.
And then the disruptive tackler exit. So this is actually the last penalty of the game. This is the penalty that seals it for Glendale. And if you had the sound on, you could hear someone from the sideline yelling, "Off her feet!" But the thing is, if you play it again in slow motion,
we'll watch this 10 times because it's a tough one. Right.
So Blue 2 decides to crawl exactly the wrong direction that we don't want them to crawl. So she gets in the way of that gold support player actually trips over her, and that's why she falls down. And then you have the blue, I think that's blue 17, blue 18, she just dives in like Superman. So that's that penalty because she completely killed the contest when she went down like that. But
diving. You're penalizing the dive.
Right. I'm penalizing the dive. Because for me, the tackler hadn't cleared the area, and she affected, how effective the gold player was going to be able to clean out. So, yeah, this is one of those tough ones.
What do you think about the ball carrier's release and body position after she hits the ground?
Oh, yeah, she's trying to put it towards her side. But the first person we look at is the tackler, right?
This is just a hard call. I'm happy with diving over. I also wonder if it could have been an unplayable if you called it at the right time.
Right. That's the thing about unplayables is timing.
Yeah, when the ball is caught, for sure. So, does anybody have thoughts about this one? It's just, I think it's just a hard one.
I'd like to this is Rosalind. Hey.
Hey.
Why, if we're talking about the tackler and you think that tackler interfered, why is it not tackler not rolling?
Yeah, that's a great question too. Did I put that in there? I was like, I should penalize the first thing that happened.
Yeah, you said she actually trips over blue tackler crawling out gold side, but the contest was still on till 19 dives.
But like the huge clear and obvious thing is 19 diving in, and I didn't know if I was gonna let it breathe just a little bit and see if she was going to be able to make the clean out, but she didn't. The tackler interfered, and yeah, you're right. The secondary should have been not rolling away, but I think the diving over was a lot easier to follow. If that makes sense.
That does make sense. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, from the sideline, the diving was the second occasion of diving, right?
Oh, you mean a blue player losing their feet, or
yellow diving when it was really a tripped over.
Yeah.
Then they saw blue diving, and they saw you penalize blue.
Right.
You penalize tackler not rolling away. They go, oh, that happened first.
Yeah. That would have been a really quick whistle. And in this game, the breakdown, I called stuff. I let things breathe. And in the second half, especially after having 16 penalties in the first half, I was definitely going to try to let things breathe and see if the players could sort it out for themselves. For the most part, they did. But this is one of those examples of, the tackler needs to get out of the way and how that can kind of change the optics of it and make it difficult to read, because if you miss that little bit of the tackler crawling out, then you could be inclined to, like, oh, well, that looks like gold's going off their feet. But I mean, I could see that she tripped over the girl, and it's true, like, not rolling away is what I should have called, but the dive over for me was like the most material, easiest to follow thing to call.
Anybody else? Thanks, Haley. That's a good one. That's a tough call.
Hey, it's Michelle. I just have a little thing to add. I was really intently watching on my laptop, so I don't know if somebody already mentioned it, but if you would have kind of let it continue to breathe, the ball looks like it's out and available to Glendale. So did that cross your mind at all to let it continue to play, or was it like a reactionary whistle?
It could have been a bit reactionary when a player does something so obvious the way she dove in there. But at the same time, we were like 3 minutes into injury time, and I had told Glendale like a minute earlier, they're asking like, is that full time? And I was like, yeah. And it's not that I was trying to get the game over early, but it was kind of like that was a penalty that I don't want to say they earned it, but that last act of desperation by Berkeley sealed it,
I don't think you can play on there. There's just too many people on the deck.
Like
big miss.
And then eyes all over.
Yeah, we got to clean that up.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that was something that I was trying, like, making sure people were on their feet this week. That was another, like, just the breakdown in general. I just wanted better optics. I just wanted it to look nicer.
Cool. Great clips. Thank you. Is that it? Is that we got them all? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Super. Thanks. That was a fun game to watch.
Thanks. It was a fun game to riff.
Who is going to be next? Let's see.
Can I go next?
Yes, absolutely.
Amelia.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. I recognized your voice, although I could have messed it up. But there's just too many games. I swear I can't find anything. But go ahead. You can start talking, and I'll.
Okay, so I had Life West against Surfers at San Diego, and game was super fast as I expected. Really fun. Lots of hard running. Lots of exciting plays. The one play that the Surfers scored on is really cool. So if you haven't seen it, it's in the second half. I didn't put it in the clips, but it's a really nice kicking play. Scrums were tricky, as I expected them to be, because since we talked about that Life West tight head. But you can see, like in the scrum, there were 3 penalties one way and 2 the other. In the clips, you'll see I have one where green is dominant and one where they're illegally dominant. What else?
That's cool.
Yeah, I think that's enough for the clip. Okay. So let's start with the scrums, if that's all right. So.
Which one first, illegal or legal?
Legal. So this was first scrum of the game, obviously 55 seconds in. So there's basically a knock on off the kickoff. So you'll see the green loose head drives straight across forward, and blue kind of just crumbles under the pressure from green. And blue looks purple here, I guess.
Will you make it big?
Yep.
Thanks.
Sorry, Kat told me I was making her seasick the other day, so.
So I give a penalty for standing up against blue.
Good decision.
Sorry, Peter?
A good decision.
Yeah. So from that scrum, Olivia and I talked about this. Now green thinks that they're going to be dominant for the majority of the game. So they end up conceding a few penalties by illegally dominating, either boring or driving up later on in the match. So this is the other scrum where she dominates illegally. So this one, she's going to bore in, and you'll see the way the scrum turns immediately and starts to drive backwards, basically towards where I'm standing. So the pressure is coming through the green front row toward the side that I'm standing on, which is only going to happen if someone is driving in.
Yeah, that was a challenging game from a scrum perspective. It's really fun to go in there and watch them all.
It was very challenging, and I took them all as like their own thing and really didn't like each one as a separate event. And I think that kind of helped me because I didn't have a preconceived notion about what I was expecting. I knew what the picture should look like, but I wasn't expecting like one person to be good every time. And that seemed to work until all the subs came in like halfway through the second half, and then it was a little bit trickier even. Yeah, next we can do the illegal fend. So this was Hope Rogers. She does it a couple times in the match. This was, I think, the first time she did it. Again, it's right at the beginning of the match.
Whoa, sorry, let me turn the volume down.
So a little bit hard to see, kind of similar to Haley's, but also there's force. She kind of goes with her forearm, not really her elbow, but like not just her hand. And to me, like at World Rugby level, like this would probably be a penalty, I would think. But I'm not sure what you guys would call and what we want to, how we want to call this in the WPL.
This is Haley. I think you're probably clued in as far as what the World Rugby standard for this would be, and so, you know, I would trust your judgment on this.
To me, it's not a penalty though, like personally. That's why I didn't call it. But if we want to call it as a group as a penalty, that's okay. I'm happy to do that, but it kind of depends on what we think as a group. I don't want to go calling it if I'm doing it.
But I mean, if you think that at the World Rugby Standard, we want to prepare them for that,
Fuck
then
off.
Whoa. Somebody
just
needs to mute.
Sorry, I was
say
gesturing.
Mute. Sorry, Haley, can you go ahead?
well, I think we've agreed that we want to help prepare the players for the World Cup. And so if Amelia thinks that the expected call there would be a penalty or a yellow card, I've seen red card. We all saw, what was it, Megan Rom's first test match and Holly Davidson sending her off for that.
So yeah. Amelia, you said you think that one was play on. Is that correct?
For me, that's play on. But
So
if I want,
I 100% agree with you.
okay.
So, and just for clarity's sake for the group, like, I'm just going to say this is what it is, right? From our work with World Rugby. So we're talking about the difference between a leading forearm and a forearm that's used to make space after contact, basically.
Okay.
So sometimes Hope Rogers will lead with the forearm. Like, hang on, I'll show you this one because I actually got her for it in the Super Series. See the difference? Like, the elbow's already out there when she makes the hit. There's more to this one. It'll keep going, and you can see the replays on it. Once we do, let's see, ignore this. It gets there eventually. But see, as she's running, as she makes contact, the elbow's already out. Well, here it comes. Somewhere. That may not even be the right play. Here it is. But see how the elbow's up, like as she goes into the thing versus being tucked against the body?
Yeah.
And then used to make space. So to me, the one that was in your San Diego game is different than one that would be a penalty. Does that make sense to everybody? We have all of these too that World Rugby sent out.
Yeah, I think it's tricky to see live the difference between the two because she's such a powerful player that like Haley said in her example, the player often will like kind of get thrown backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not in the right position to see how the contact is made.
Yeah, and I think if she's going to use that technique and we misinterpret it, then that's at your peril too.
Yeah, I warned her about it after I saw it. I was like, hey, just want to be careful. That one looked okay to me, but it might not always be okay.
So if they do make contact low and then really close hanger somebody with the forearm afterwards, you could still, like the way that the wording is, you could still penalize that, I guess, contact. But it's really the leading elbow that they want the red card, yellow card type thing for. At least that's how it was explained to me. So does anybody have questions? Or does it sort of make sense?
It's Julianne here. I was just going to ask Amelia, what is it that you saw that that led you to the play on decision?
To me, it looked like just a fend, and I didn't see contact with the head because she does like make contact with her forearm. I didn't see contact with the head. To me, it was her chest. So I don't know.
Yeah, I read it the same.
At least from the videos that World Rugby sent out, like looking at all the individual World Rugby videos and then looking at this one and the ones that they said were okay, I could be wrong in this, but it's they initiate contact like with the strike, like with the elbow, with the whatever they want to hit the other person with, and then they go, yeah, I got him, and then they take the space.
Yep.
As opposed to this one where it's like she's running this person over and there's collision, and then she kind of moves through. And that's why I would have played on, and I'm happy that Amelia did.
Yep, thanks. That's another good way to sort of try and think about it. Is everybody happy? Any more talking points around this one? Okay. What's next? Keeping focus.
Last one is just Olivia and I talked about like 60 minutes into the match. I'm usually like kind of zoning out and just running on whatever autopilot. But I had some of someone's halftime peach, and I felt good still, and I made this call, which we both thought was spot on.
A nailed it call. Cool.
So just tackle assist, not releasing.
Looks good to me. So you're eating peaches at every halftime from here on out?
I guess so, but they're going to have to be California peaches, and that's going to be tricky.
Anything else from this match?
No, super fun. Whoever gets to do Life West, enjoy it, because it was, I don't know, a good opportunity. And even the surfers were good too. I mean, they didn't look as good as they normally do because the competition is so tight, but are so good against Life West. But it was fun to referee them.
Cool. Well, thank you. It was a great game to watch. Michelle O'Brien, would you like to go next?
Sure would.
Cool.
Also, I have a bedtime little whiny baby, so just in case you hear her.
No problem.
All right. So I had New York and Minneapolis. And so things that I was working on that Rosalind and I discussed from the last game was making a clear standard and maintaining it the entire game. Fixing my advantage to kind of not play it so loosely. And then for my own movement, move early, move often. And so the clear standard I did not create. I also had a terribly uneven penalty count in the first half. And it was like post-game, the big picture is that I need to look at the consistency. Like, was I even making the same calls from one team to the other team throughout the game? And after doing my analysis of the game, I really don't think that I was consistent with the calls that I made. So it's like I let certain things slide, but I didn't do it equally for both sides. For advantage, I definitely improved on that. So first of all, didn't really play a whole lot of penalty advantage, which I think helped the game in terms of, I don't know, movement. Let's see here, trends. So I was working on communication for the last game, and it was the same thing this game with offside being an issue. Like first half, what am I not calling, or am I calling non-material offside that they're not getting it? So like, what am I doing that's not getting the point across is kind of what I've come to the conclusion of. I mean, 22 minutes in, I had 9 penalties against the Amazons and a yellow card versus 2 versus New York. So like, this should have been a clear picture in my head to be like, what am I doing? Why is it so high one way? And also the score didn't really reflect that, which I really looked at that call second quarter of the game, which is the New York dominance scrum clip, is that I feel like I was almost inhibiting good play from happening for New York.
It's really good analysis. Your breakdown of the game is well done, Michelle. So a lot of good thoughts in there.
So it's just like I need to work on this big picture like while I'm in the game, because I feel like I can do it after and I can do it, watching from the sideline, but I'm not doing it in my games, which is a huge problem. So Yeah, if you want to go to that clip, the
Wait.
scrum, just
Wait,
Oh, sorry.
it's not a huge problem. It's an area to work on.
Oh, okay. An area to work on. But
Which one first? Let's see.
And actually, and just a little comment as well, is that as I was analyzing the game, so a couple of those kind of inconsistent, like, yeah, I let it slide on one team and not the other. So, like, say I called it and I was like, oh, I don't know that I agree with that. I called it. The other team would gain possession in, like, the next phase. So it was almost like karma was helping me to make the right call, but I still feel like I don't know, like, was it a factor? Wasn't it a factor? Anyways, so the New York dominance for the scrum. Yeah, we'll do the scrum first. Oh, yeah. And just, they were dominant at the scrums, and clearly we all knew what they were trying to do at this, 5-meter scrum from the goal line is score a try off of that. And so was there something that stopped from the try to be scored? Like the collapse, right? Like, was it a collapse scrum? Was it the Amazons not keeping their feet? Should it have been at least a penalty, if not a penalty try? Any thoughts from anybody?
So great discussion point. Let's watch it one more time so people can see.
And like I said, at this point, 31 minutes into the game. So it was 22 minutes. It was 9-2 penalty kicks. And at 31 minutes, it was probably at that 11. What was I? First half, there was 11 penalties against the Amazons.
All right, what's everybody doing in this situation?
That's hard for me because it looks like the blue or the white loose head slips first. I know they're driving orange back, but why is her body like that right now? Was it intentional that orange collapsed, or did white not have good footing because it's raining?
Good question.
It's a good thought. Like, I would definitely think penalty try, but it's hard to tell what actually happened from this angle. Yeah. Like, if the orange tight head goes down first, then I would say yes, penalty try.
Hey, Michelle, it's Kat.
Yeah.
I would probably be giving a penalty try here. I'm with Amelia. It's hard to see what's happening, but you can already see that people are unbinding off the orange scrum. Like, the 8's totally out already. Yeah, that's not the most material part, but orange is causing the scrum to break apart and stopping the forward momentum that New York has.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that arm out for advantage.
Okay. And I feel like I didn't notice it until, like I said, reviewing it, where I was like, oh my gosh, we all know what they're trying to do here. Why didn't a try happen? Like, expected outcome would have been a try.
Yep.
And so, yeah.
This is Haley. Richard used to have a saying about 5-meter scrums. Like, if there's a potential drive over, it was like, there's 3 things that can happen, like a try, a knock on, or a penalty try. So, you kind of already have in your head, 3 expected outcomes that could happen. And so, if you've already had, like Kat said, orange already started to break off. So I don't think anybody would have disagreed with a penalty try there.
Even from this angle, you can see that New York's doing everything right until pieces start coming off the scrum. So, I got to reward that.
Yeah.
Yep. Good decision, penalty try.
Yeah. I'd have a hard time putting a finger on who the yellow card, but it definitely
Yeah, I think that would be tough.
And then this was, I just feel like poor management, to like reiterate my not a clear standard of things. And it was like 2 penalties in one. Like, do I give a yellow card to, and I mean, I had just given a yellow card, or right?
No, it comes after this, I think. It's the play after this one.
But it was like I gave a yellow card in like the middle of the field. So I just feel like timing, and I'm not managing properly that the team is committing a penalty at that point to get a yellow card. I don't know. Anyways, thoughts on this?
Okay, who wants to talk? Does everybody see what's happening?
You mean like number 8 jumping on her?
Yeah, so we've got the high tackle there, and Michelle ends up penalizing offside. Is that correct, Michelle?
Yeah, it was the same player, and I don't, like, was she materially offside?
Right.
I believe it was the same player that was offside and then made the tackle.
So to me, she comes from an onside position. High tackle. So what would you do differently if you had to do it over?
Ideally, not really to do with this exact clip, but ideally I would have had a better standard for offside, that I wouldn't have to put myself in this position. Like, it would have been because that's what I called offside, and just kind of ignored the high tackle. And in hindsight, should have just called the high tackle, get that out.
Okay. Is everybody happy with that?
I agree with that, but I think it's also okay to call the offside. And you warned her for the high tackle, so she knows that she did that as well. I also don't really have a problem with what you did.
Yeah, and we talked about in Haley's game, you pick the first penalty, and her being offside is the first penalty. Then she commits the high tackle.
So the high tackle, foul play trumps whatever else happened. The question is, did everybody else know that you saw the high tackle?
And I didn't even, gesture it or anything. I told the captain, but that was it.
Well, that's sometimes why you make a bigger deal out of, hauling out and scolding the player. If it's the high tackle, you got to get out of the game.
That makes sense.
Cool. Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks.
Julianne, are you still on here?
Sure am.
I've got nothing to show while you talk.
You know what? Actually, if you can get access to the WPL Google Drive, I dropped my game plan for the game in there, and I think it'll be good to reference back to it.
All right, can do that.
Yeah, so super low scoring game, 3-10, a very frustrated home team, the Chicago North Shore. And I think part of the low score had to do with the conditions on the day. So it was rainy, it was slippery. They just had a hard time getting any attack going, especially out wide. Didn't finish the opportunities that they did get. And yeah, I mean, it would have been a good one to have video for, obviously. I did have audio. I had my voice recorder. So that was helpful. I went back and listened to that, and that sort of jogged my memory a little bit, and I was able to pinpoint some interesting things that happened in the game that I maybe wouldn't have remembered otherwise. So that was handy. But for me, what was the big win was I developed a new and simpler game plan for myself this game. So actually, not in there. If you go back one more folder in the referee game plans.
Okay.
And then that one right there that your cursor's over. Perfect. So previously I'd used a template that was given to me. This is a new template that I got that I like a whole lot more. So it's really simple. And it actually, for me, what's important is consistency game to game. So it's something that doesn't change a whole lot from one game to the next, but it gives me sort of a framework to set up the first 20 minutes of my game and then opportunities to check in. Some of those opportunities I took and some of them I ignored in this game, which were good learnings. And then obviously there's room to assess the strengths and weaknesses of the team, but that sits outside of how I'm actually setting up my game. Yeah, so you can see 5 main areas of the game. And I'd say in this particular match, it was interesting. One of the areas that was really interesting was space. I did have a check-in with myself probably 20-30 minutes in, and my trigger for space, well, first of all, I'll go through sort of how the game plan works, but so what am I looking for? Players are onside, and how am I going to achieve that? Get into a position to manage the offside line. Really simple. The trigger that I use is tackles behind the game line. So in this game, there were a lot of tackles behind the game line. And so it did force me to question if I was in a position to manage the offside line. So I really prioritized that after I had that chat with myself. And I think at the end of the day, you know, that was sort of what we had on the day as far as conditions. The defense was going to be on the front foot. And it was going to be harder for the attack to move the ball, but still really helpful to have sort of just that framework to check in so that I wasn't sitting there all game saying, what's going on? Like, this is an absolute mess.
Did you get stats from your audio recorder yet?
You know what? I didn't do stats. I listened through and thought more big picture and how it related back to this game plan, because that's
okay.
That's how I wanted to focus on my review process, but I could get stats if anyone's interested.
I was just interested in penalties against the attack, and I was interested in number of scrums, but yeah.
You know what? I don't, off the top of my head, there weren't a crazy number of scrums.
Well, you had bad weather too, so that can also impact it.
And the drops were backwards. Like they weren't, like it was just like slippery and slow. Like it wasn't necessarily big knock-ons. I think the teams just didn't have a lot of confidence in their attack because maybe the conditions and maybe just the nature of the teams that on the day.
Cool.
Then another interesting one for me was management. So what do I want? I want players to listen and act. How? Say the right thing at the right time. Trigger, repeating myself. Mm-hmm. This has become a really good trigger for me. And sometimes I do it well. In this game, what I realized was I was repeating myself on how North Shore was setting up their line out. So we talked about walking in, and I was reminding them every time to keep moving as they were approaching, and I needed to free kick them.
Right.
And so it was when I actually took a step back and realized that I was repeating myself, that I had a better option to use. And so I actually talked to them about it after the game. I don't know who has North Shore next, but I tried to provide clarity on the line out and said, so that the next referee that has them will not have to repeat themselves.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, the lineouts themselves were actually pretty straightforward. The maul setup was pretty good on both sides. And the scrums went well as well. There was one penalty against North Shore, which was for standing up defensively, and then there were 2 resets, and that's it. So pretty straightforward.
Yeah, good day. Awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Cool. Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Next time with video.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that, and hopefully it won't happen again. Of course, it happens to you when you fly in from Canada to do a match.
That's okay. These things happen. We can't control everything, right?
Yeah, well, we try, but we can't. So, cool. Well, thank you, Julian. Here's what next week looks like. We got Haley going to Glendale and Steve Gore leaving Glendale and going to California. Kat's going to be in Chicago. Jenny Lou gets Beantown. Exciting week. Let's see what we got here. Just celebrating success. Congratulations to Joe for completing his Ironman this weekend. Pretty exciting. So go team. Things we do outside of rugby also important. And that's it. Yeah, you're very welcome. And that's it. Thanks everybody for being here. If anybody has any last thoughts, now's the time to share them. All right. Cool.
Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah, I just wanted to apologize for my outburst. I almost ran over a scooter and I thought I was muted. So
Thank
sorry.
you.
Okay, Mark.
It happens. Awesome. Thanks everybody, and have a great week. Look forward to the games this weekend. I'll send out a link with the live streams. Hopefully Glendale will be live streaming. I think All Blues has been live streaming as well. So we should have 2. Awesome. Have a good night, everybody.
Night, y'all.